Hello, everyone. My name is Karl Lentini. I'm a filmmaker and I directed a movie called Men of Law. It's currently in post-production. This is the poster for it, and hopefully will come out later this year after we finish. And the movie tells the story of a former detective who visits his old cousin in the backwoods of Texas with his teenage daughter who is kidnapped and goes into the scary world of human trafficking. And so, to help us learn about the real world, some things about the real world of human trafficking, we have a Los Angeles police detective, Martin Pinner, here with us today. So, I'm very honored to have you here, Martin. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. So, as far as yourself personally, what kind of trafficking cases have you worked on?
I've worked on human trafficking for about 25 years, just within my investigative experience at LAPD, starting back in probably whatever that is, roughly 1999, year 2000, up until now. I did different types of investigations that involved a small portion of human trafficking over the years. And then about 9.5 years ago, I was applied for the position that I've been at for most of these 9.5 years at the Valley Bureau Human Trafficking Unit. And now I focus solely on human trafficking, rescuing victims of trafficking, things like that. So I've been doing it for quite a long time. The types of cases that we do generally are sex trafficking here in the Valley. We get these cases from two different areas mainly, which is here in the Valley. We have a prostitution track. Some people don't like to use that word. Some people like to use commercial sex worker. So we have a track here in the Valley in which we have a few, but one main one in which commercial sex workers get out and walk up and down the street to attract customers. So we get cases from there. That's where we spend a grand majority of our time. And then the other way we get cases, and those cases are from one of the or any of the 7 divisions here in the Valley that have a particular person who comes into the station or a radio call or something like that where human trafficking is involved. The most interesting, or one of the misconceptions, to human trafficking is that human trafficking is a very wide term that incorporates a lot of other types of things. Human trafficking is usually divided into the most common, I would say, potentially sex trafficking, another very, very common. All these are pretty nasty crimes committed against these individuals, these victims. But the one we focus on is human sex trafficking. The other one that we rarely get involved in is what they call labor trafficking. There's forced labor under that genre of cases. And then there are, and those are the main two here in Los Angeles, the Valley of Los Angeles, that we investigate. And we probably 99% of our cases are sex trafficking.
And that's the San Fernando Valley?
Yes. So we're just attached to one part of we are part of the city of Los Angeles. And my experience is right here in this part of the city in what they call the San Fernando Valley. And so I don't work in other parts of the city, but on some very rare occasion. So my expertise, my experience, how I talk about my experience and those things come specifically from my experience here in the San Fernando Valley of LA.
So you know those streets. You've seen them, the ebb and flow of those particular streets for many, many years.
I have. Sorry.
That's okay. I was wondering
Sorry.
if there's a division within the police department focused exclusively on traffic, for it was part of something else.
Yes, we are. We are assigned, my unit is assigned to, uh, here in the Los Angeles is uh, divided into four squares for this, how the city police department works. Actually, it's much more complex than that, but for most people, their experiences with black and white patrol officers and their black and white police cars come into their house, those kind of things. And so that's divided into four sections of the city here in LA. And I'm in one of those four sections. And then of our section of the valley, it's called Valley Bureau. We have a very, very big part of Los Angeles out here in the valley, and we're assigned to the central hub of all of the valley so that our cases take us into any of the 7 pieces of the valley to work on those cases.
I used to live in Van Nuys for a while and then Burbank. So it's a vast area. For people who don't know Los Angeles, the valley is a huge, huge piece of land.
Yeah, I think our section of the valley is, I think, 270 square miles, give or take. So it's quite large.
Mm-hmm. And your unit, you mentioned, how many people are in this unit at work?
We go up and down. Hey guys, be aware I'm on video. We go up and down, but currently I think we have about 7 people
Okay.
in our unit.
And are some of them black and whites? Are some of them plainclothes?
We're all plainclothes, undercover. I guess not even much plainclothes, undercover officers assigned to the unit.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the victims, you say 90% of it is sex trafficking, people on the street. What is the typical or is there a typical victim?
Well, typical is always a little difficult. I think that uh, mostly, a grand majority, it's almost 100% of our victims in sex trafficking are women. And then the ages of the women range from, we've had some very young, devastating cases, but most of them are between 14 and 65.
65. Wow.
Yes. Sex trafficking is human trafficking is because it's an all-inclusive word for a large type of investigations. We focus on, we do get some labor trafficking, but most of our trafficking is focused on the sex side of the sex trafficking. We get some, and I'll describe those in just a minute, but our labor trafficking is so small, but it's associated to sex trafficking. So sometimes folks are forced to work, but that work is sex trafficking. And so they'll come to Los Angeles however they get here. I hear stories all the time of, you know, and certainly have seen movies where folks, women, mostly a lot of these are women, but and my experience is that it's almost all women are the victims of sex trafficking. Labor trafficking obviously is a little different, but if someone comes to Los Angeles to find work, however they get here, there's a lot of ways to get here to LA, and then when they get here, someone sells them a fantasy, a bill of goods, and they're like, "Well, come over here and clean houses." And when they get to this apartment to clean this apartment, it's not a cleaning job at all. It's a sex worker job where they're then either asked or, in some cases, forced to work as a commercial sex worker for somebody else. That person is called the pimp or the exploiter. And so that has some labor trafficking aspects to it. Because not only are they making them work, but they're also making them work for sex. So, but sex is not the only thing they do. That's why it has some aspects of labor trafficking. Long hours, horrible pay or no pay. You know, there's not one law that's followed. They, work 12 or 14 hours a day. They live where they work. They have to pay for where they live, as well as working by cleaning, by sex, by whatever they're tasked to do. So that's the labor sex trafficking cases that we do get a little bit of. Most of what we get is the human sex trafficking or sex trafficking, where the two ways we get them, the two prevalent ways here in the Valley are walking the streets, meeting customers on the street. A certain amount of money is charged in exchange for sex, and that is obviously what most people call prostitution. If those persons are forced to do that, it becomes trafficking, sex trafficking. So there are a lot of people in Los Angeles that claim to do that on their own to make money, and that's not a crime where someone is exploiting them or taking advantage of them or abusing them. That's of their own doing. They choose to make money that way, and certainly it does happen. What we focus on is the exploiters trying in our day-to-day operations when we drive up and down the street looking for what is the visual part of sex trafficking is the women walking up and down the street in next to nothing to invite customers to come and talk to them. And we're interested in, if they're made to do that, who is making them do that? Can we see that kind of activity? And then can we stop it, rescue those women, mostly women, and then through the courts, take the bad guy, girl, or whatever that person is off the streets and attempt to help that one person and potentially others we never knew about, and any people in his or her future that they would abuse, exploit. We're helping them in some way by working on this one piece, this one moment of their life to put an end to what this person does.
Yeah, thank you for that distinction between someone who is trafficked, forced into sex labor, versus someone who's doing that on their own. I didn't quite get that distinction. And you mentioned some people work in sex trafficking but are not providing sex as a service. So I'm wondering, would these be like stash houses where everybody goes at the end of the day and one person is assigned to take care of everyone else or cook or clean or something?
Um, Maybe I misspoke, but there's a part of labor trafficking that's sometimes includes sex trafficking. When they apply for this job, it's a trick. And so originally they're tricked by seeing an ad in the paper or online that says, you know, make $100 a day cleaning houses. When the person, and I'm not saying that this is a prevalent thing, but that it does just happen. And so when they arrive for this job interview, they in fact find out that it's not cleaning a house. It's a house that they might clean once or twice, but when they get there, the exploiter fills them in on what is really going on, which is sex trafficking. And so the woman is going to work or could be forced to work as a commercial sex worker to make money for the boss and their people. And so she, like I said, mostly women, is stuck in that position where they may not have a choice, whether it's by force, fear, those kind of things. That's what sometimes that type of sex trafficking disguises labor trafficking. So, and then when they're not working there, they're also cleaning the house. And then if they're working in a different area, which is another popular crime here in LA, it's the illicit massage parlors. Same kind of thing. Hey, do you want to come and clean? They arrive, they're told, well, this is not actually a cleaning job. You're going to be giving massages to men. And then these men come in expecting more. And the women have to, whether it's a decision or by force, they're sometimes forced to engage in sex for money at these massage parlors, the illegal ones.
I can understand how someone in a very vulnerable position, who may be young, who may be poor, who is easily controlled. Like, I'm wondering, the common sense part of me says, get out of there. But it may not be that easy. It's easy for me to say, but it may not be easy for that victim to just walk away and report them and go somewhere else.
I've been telling people for years, because it's a very, very common question, including in court. Some people just don't understand why the woman or this person, the victim, continues to either return or continues to submit when potentially they have the opportunity to escape, walk away, stay away, those kind of things. And part of the reason that exploiters are so successful is that they get into, very similar to domestic violence, they get into your head. And once they're in your head, they make you believe that you are the problem. And it's the bad people don't take that responsibility on. They take because it's partly mind games. They've convinced these victims that everything they're doing is actually helping, and you can send money to your family. We're gonna make money together. I'm taking all these statements over the years and lumping them all together, but it's make money. Let's buy a house together. You want to buy a car, don't you? We'll do this for a little while. We'll buy a car. You're going to be able to send money to your family, wherever that family is. You're going to be able to save. You could be rich pretty soon. Don't you want to you could make $100,000 a year doing this. And if that person is potentially susceptible to that mindful, overpowering, whatever that might be called, then they're like, well, maybe I could do this for a short time and make some money. I do need the money. I need a place to stay. Whatever the story of that person on that day is, the exploiter buries their way into it, and just through conversation figures out what their weak points are and exploits that, and then turns them into a money-making machine for them. And we get lots and lots of victims who, by trick, fear, I don't know, tell us that they don't have a problem with their exploiter. They're doing what they want to do in this life or in this moment. And sometimes we'll discuss with them some of the things that we've heard or seen. And wow, what's that bruise on your arm? Oh, that's just from, the other day I didn't do what I was told to do. And he grabbed me, or she grabbed me, or whatever that might be. And sometimes when you're talking to them and you can see some timid effect on them, and you can tell that, and sometimes they will reveal to you that they've been told the police are the bad people. Don't talk to the cops. Using their immigration status to bend them to the bad side of things. If you tell that cop what's happening, they're going to send you back home. And you don't want that, do you? You want to give your family the money that I give you and you make. It's all these manipulations of facts that make them susceptible sometimes to these traffickers. I'll tell you or a very proud moments that have occurred throughout these years. In some way, it's called the first timers. So we've been incredibly fortunate to be in the right place at the right time on so many occasions with our dedication of our team. When this is probably going back about eight years ago, we were working outside of a hotel in Van Nuys, and these two exploiter pimps approached one of the undercover officers and said, we've got a new girl in this hotel room and she doesn't want to do it. We don't know how to tell her how to do it, but she doesn't want to. Would you, and these guys are talking to a female undercover officer, would you go in there and tell her what to do? Teach her what to do? And what we found in that moment in time is that this girl was 15 or 16 years old, and she was a runaway from out of town. And in that moment, she was in the room. And as we decided together what we were going to do about it, the two guys came out in the car with the girl. And I pulled up alongside of them. The uniformed patrol officers stopped them, and we got her out of that situation. And the minute we get her out, she starts with what she's taught to do, which is lie, don't trust the police, but then quickly reveals that she's a runaway and she's in trouble. And so these two guys went to prison eventually. But that similar scenario has happened to me and to our unit many times over the years. If we weren't there, and we can't be there all the time, but if we weren't there at that time, we've had so many young ladies where it's the very first day, the very first time that they've stood on the street corner being told what to do, and we just happen to be there. And we see that interaction between them and the exploiter. And based on our experience, I work with an amazing team, and we can act on that. We have a little bit of resources, and we can make things happen. We've got an incredibly good set of interview. Our team is based on their experience, are very, very good at talking to men and women in this business, and we get comments all the time. Why would they say that to you? Why would they open up? And it's just the skill of the individual. A lot of times, that gets them to open up and reveal what's happened to them. And then we get to do finally good things by taking someone off the street for as much time as we can get through the courts to get them off the street and stop them from continually hurting others.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing when you can rescue somebody. That must
Yes,
be satisfying for you and your team.
it's amazing.
What suggestions do you have for people? Just anybody watching this, anybody listening. How can we prevent this? How can we stop this? How do we reduce this?
Well, I think that a big part of it can start in the home. Developing relationships with your kids is huge. Some of it you can't stop. There's just nothing you can do. It's sometimes really ugly cases, and we don't get those very often, where they're actually kidnapped and taken off the street. We just don't experience that here in the Valley. Certainly it does happen on occasion, but it's such a rare thing out here that we don't get much experience in it, but it definitely happens. But if we, not much you can do about someone who makes you a victim of a crime, pulls up to you and grabs you and takes you. That's a completely different, unusual occurrence. What we experience is the vulnerable teenage young lady, middle-aged person who is potentially vulnerable, whether it's they're not happy at home, they don't have parents that are around anymore, they're wards of the court, they're runaways, they're desperate, they don't want to be at home, so they're out on the street, and someone comes up to them and is nice to them. And that niceness is a disguise by the exploiter to, take them in, cuddle them initially, but then abuse them and exploit them. And so I think starting at home, which is an incredibly big job. No parent these days. I'm a little older. The kids these days are different, and the way they're raised is different than I was raised. And you've got immediate access to the world through your phone, through your computer, through your tablet. And so when you effectively open that up, it is in some way opening a door for someone to take advantage of your child, your young teenage, your young impressionable adult, or in some cases, many cases, just a regular adult person who's struggling in their life, and they're online. They've told their story, as an example, on Instagram. They've told their tale of woe and what a tough life they're having, and someone sends them a supportive, loving, caring message. There's so many different ways that people allow suspects into their lives unbeknownst to them. We give talks on occasion about what can you do and most of them are focused on their children and their grandchildren. They're worried about them in the world that we live in today. And what we tell them is, certainly what we see is, who does your child hang out with? And that's also including online. It's a physical and social media thing these days. And so if you don't know your children's people, you're allowing them to see people and do people that you don't approve of, then you take that responsibility by giving them that access. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, most of those people have an age appropriate part of their website. But what a lot of kids want is all that exposure. And so they don't tell the computer that they're actually 13. They tell them that they're 19, and that exposes them to different things. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, a bunch of the social media places, they're familiar through government concerns and through the parents of all these children that have been abused. They're aware that there are predators out there, and so they have a part of their website designed for children. But most people don't do that. Most people let their kids do this because they trust them and things like that. And it's not your child you have to worry about. He's the predator. And so when your child, and these are incredibly difficult things to do and say, but when your child wants access, you tell them what the rules are. The rules are you get access, but I do too. Everyone you talk to, I can talk to. And if you don't want it that way, then you don't get these things. Again, very difficult to do, easy to say, difficult to do. But so many of our cases we get from an online chat. All the commercial sex trafficking that occurs online, on Instagram, Snapchat, there's so many. It's like handing out your phone number. People don't understand that. And that it happens thousands of times a day where exploiters talk to girls, talk to adults who are a little bit needy, whatever it might be called. And then they take them in and turn them into what they want, which is a money-making machine.
But it's hard enough to be a child anywhere, to just grow up and learn how to live and deal with your parents and your friends, and then to have all this added layer of potential danger from the internet. I grew up and there was no internet, so you go out in the neighborhood, you play with your friends and your parents.
You're not that old.
Well, thank you for saying that, but your parents would know your neighbors. They would have a good sense. They didn't have eyes on you. They'd have a good sense of where you were. Now, virtually, you can be anywhere. And anyone else can be looking at you. Instead, you have a phone number.
And then just the little things where you're really proud of a new outfit you got and you take a picture of it and someone sees it and they're like, oh, she's cute. I'm going to talk to her. In some way, you just, if you took that immediate scenario in 2025 and that was 40 years ago, that would be a picture you took with your friend on a camera that your parents would have to process to give you the picture later. And so just things have changed. And so it allows, like I said, you're basically in some way, you're opening a door to allow these people to look directly into your life. And I say these people, I don't have a clue. There's absolutely no, what did you write? I forgot what you wrote. Let's see what you wrote. There's no, what's the word? There's no victim profile. Sorry. There's no victim profile. There's no suspect profile. There is no such thing. We've arrested men and women, white, black, Hispanic, Asian. It does not matter. We've arrested women abusing men. We've arrested 16-year-olds taking advantage or sex trafficking 17-year-olds. And so there is no There's no picture of a suspect. You can't teach your child, watch out for this person. That's not the way it works. It's always take care of yourself. It can be anyone. It can be your best friend, your whatever neighbor. It just doesn't matter. And so um, there isn't a profile.
Wow. So the exploiters, personally, they can be charming or friendly, but then online they can be anybody they want to be. And,
Yeah.
and reach people and exploit them.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, Martin, I could talk to you for hours. This is important work that you and your team are doing, and I really appreciate it. There's so many people like yourself out there in police departments that maybe we're not so aware of, who are actively looking to rescue people and put those exploiters away. So thank you for your work and your team.
Thanks. Just a small part of it is what we do. There's so many that help. Once we find a victim of a crime like this, there are a lot of agencies out there in the Los Angeles area, because that's what I'm familiar with, but that are working 24/7, whether it's someone on call or something, where we can call these agencies to say, hey, I have a young lady, I have a whoever that needs a place immediately to stay. They need something to dress in. They need something to eat, those kind of things. And so, I'm even though I have a lovely team that sits near me, it's such a bigger picture, and it's not. If the one thing I'll pass on, it's just not one person. As I've said about my team, it's just not one person. I just happen to be the guy on your camera today, but there's lots and lots of us, and there are lots, and probably double the amount of people who are willing to help people get out of this lifestyle to continue to try to make them successful again, and have to not resort to doing something like this or put themselves in a position where someone can take advantage of them.
Well, great. I want to be respectful of your time, Martin. So I really appreciate your time and your conversation with us, and I hope we could talk again at some point.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Martin, and thank you, everyone, for watching this. I hope what we've talked about here can help somebody out there. And remember, there are people actively working to help you.
Thanks, Karl.
Martin and his team. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.